Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Falls Township Board of Supervisors meeting, June 17th. We're going to begin as usual with the salute to the flag, and after that I'm going to ask people to remain standing for a brief moment, and I'll explain that a little later. So we'll begin with the salute to the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On Sunday, the township lost not only a very good resident but a very good friend, a man named Jerry Vaughn, who ran the insurance company here in this building and was the township's insurance agent for the past 15 years, just about. The employees here, the ones that are in the room and the ones that work in this building every day, know that Jerry was always there for people, whether it was a township insurance issue or even a private insurance issue. People could go over there and ask a question if they had a parent on Medicaid or Medicare and they had a question about how it operated. Jerry would help them, and it was just something that he did. He had a battle with cancer that unfortunately he lost on Sunday. So we're going to take a moment of silence for him and keep his memory, as well as keep his wife and his daughter in our minds. Okay, thank you very much. All right, Mrs. Pullen.
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Mr. Bransky?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Dents?
Here.
Mr. Rocco?
Here.
Okay, we're honored to have our Chief of Police, Bill Wilcox, here, along with a good chunk of our police department, and quite a few gentlemen who were formerly part of our police department who have retired recently. And Chief Wilcox has a presentation for those retired officers, and so we'll proudly turn the meeting over to him.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Sullivan, Ms. Gallagher, Mr. Gray, Mrs. Boland, my colleagues, our honored retirees tonight and our former retirees, and members of our community. Tonight we're here to honor four of our best. I really didn't know what I was going to say when I was going to come here tonight. I thought about writing something down and all, and it's kind of like going to a wedding and you're asked to be the best man, and when you're asked to be the best man, you write a little note down and all, but you forget it all the time. But it's really not hard to come here tonight and talk about four guys that I worked the better part of my life with. Four men that exuded integrity, that were just great cops. And we all know what it is to be a cop. It's like no other job in the world. It's the best job in the world. It gets into you. I'm sure if firemen were in the room tonight, they would argue with us, but I still say it. The best job is being a cop. And it never changes, because the four guys who just recently retired and the retirees in the back, they're still cops. If something happens, these guys will act. They will do what it takes to do, because it's just the greatest job in the world. This pin, right here, this pin that I wear here is a 25-year pin. To me, when you achieve 25 years in this business, that's the epitome. Forget all the other awards you get. You spend 25 years in this business. Your family spends 25 years in this business. Your wife spends 25 years. Your kids, your grandmother, your grandfather, they go through the highs and lows. So not only we're here to honor those four gentlemen tonight, we're here to honor their families also. In honoring these guys, to put this in a proper perspective, they have an aggregate of 131 and a half years. That's a long time. Detective McClintock, 34 and a half years. Sergeant Taylor, 34 and a half years. Officer Shook, 32 years. And Corporal Bray, 30 and a half years. That's a long time. That's the better part of their lives. And when you say Falls Finest, you put their pictures up there. They truly are the epitome of what it was to be good cops. When the rubber hit the road, they were always there. They weren't flashy. They didn't do this stuff and all. But you know what? One was a great supervisor. He was also a great accident investigator, and then he took on being a computer guru. Another gentleman took on being a MERT specialist. He was, at one time we called him Mr. Shotgun. He did everything on the range. The other retiree was our founding thing for our SWAT team, and he was our defensive specialist. He taught us all. He beat us up and he trained us. And when you thought of doing self-defense stuff, he was always there. So they all had their specialties. They all came to the table. They did a great job. They didn't do it with any fanfare of that, and they didn't want anything. All had definitely distinct personalities, but great personalities. And we all knew each other, and we continue to know each other. We may not see each other every day, but these are my family. They'll be my family to the day they put me in a box. And they'll be cops, and I'll be cops, and it'll never end. So I guess what I'm saying tonight is, not only is this the best job in the world when we say Falls Finest, these gentlemen tonight epitomize when you say the word Falls Finest. They are that. So I'm going to call each one up individually. We're going to give them their plaque. I'm going to ask them to stay here. And if you could just hold your applause until afterwards. And then, you know what, we can howl, we can whistle, we can do whatever it takes. And as each comes up, we'll talk about them a little bit. So Detective McClintock, could you come up here first, please? There you go, Max. Detective McClintock came on the force 1977, promoted 1988. We all know Max. Max does the job day in and day out. Great investigator. And one day he came to us and said, I want to work in community policing. And he said, I want to be a DARE officer. Everybody goes, are you kidding me? Max, a DARE officer? He doesn't have a lot of filters. This is not Max. But he did an outstanding job in community policing. And he was the consummate. If you talk to Corporal Wolverton over there, he did a great job. And it's just Max. Whatever he took on, he did a great job. It's just a snapshot of his career, but you know what? Great investigator. He just did it all. And when he was on the range master, am I missing anything, Max? Okay. Okay, next, Sergeant Taylor, could you please? Harvey Taylor, 1979. Harvey Coop Taylor. Harvey was the consummate accident investigator. Did a great job at it. In fact, he was first and foremost. Him and John Trindle were two of the best. Harvey decided he wanted to go into supervision, and if I'm correct, Harvey was promoted in 2002 to the rank of corporal and subsequently to the rank of sergeant. Harvey wears many different hats. He decided that he was going to turn himself into a computer guru, and that's what he did. When we had questions about JNet or anything to deal with our cars, with our computers, Harvey did it all for us. In fact, Harvey, unfortunately, on his last day of working, injured himself, and he's having problems just getting back. But when Harvey's back, we're going to rely on his expertise a little bit. Corporal Bray, could you come up, please? Bob Bray, what do you say? Mr. Range Master, Mr. Gun. He probably has a couple guns hidden somewhere right now. Bob did the job without any fanfare. Whenever you needed him, he was there. When we started the MERT team, Bob was the foundation. He was the glue that kept it all together. Just a great, great individual on the street, very calm, unassuming, didn't go for any accolades, just funny. Towards the latter part of his career, he was consumed with jokes. But to say that Bob did the job without any fanfare, it would, he didn't care for that. He was promoted to corporal 2003. 2003. Howard, could you step up, please? Howard. There's a 1952 movie that John Wayne starred in called The Quiet Man. And forget about what the movie's about. Howard epitomized the quiet man. Never had a lot to say, but when Howard spoke, people listened. And if you didn't listen, you got the hell knocked out of you. No, seriously, Howard didn't speak a lot, but he did it. One heck of a job. Very quiet, unassuming. He was a great instructor. Howard, I indicated earlier, he was the foundation of our SWAT team. He was one of the original SWAT team members. Unfortunately, on Howard's last day, he was injured, and Howard is just recovering. This is what Falls Township is about. This police department, as far as I'm concerned, we're second to nobody. We're really not. And this, we say Falls Township is the best. Falls Township is the best because of gentlemen like this and the gentlemen out there in the audience. We have good people who work here. Good people that care about this community. We have a great backing from this community. We have these gentlemen up front that care for us and make sure that we can do the job to the best of our ability. They supply us with equipment and the wherewithal that we can do the best job, but it starts with the character. And these gentlemen did the best. Thank you, man.
Wait till Pete sits down.
Yeah. At the risk of losing our township manager and our AV coordinator, I have to announce there is food available. A reception hosted by the chief over in the police department, so everyone's welcome to join.
Maybe it's actually extra.
Thank you. Thank you.
Say the same thing I just said.
Yeah, I heard you. Is that a tough meeting for you so far?
I didn't see it.
This is priceless.
Try to help her.
You brought him.
That means I'm coming for you. He don't care.
There you go. Just don't even go there. You're right. Let him go.
You can walk 3 wide with all your
Let him
stuff.
go. Take your time. Point Bob.
Is it me?
It was Lauren, Matt.
This thing is super sensitive.
He's kind of like it, you know? He's like,
Is that the guy that got fired last week?
This is not what we discussed. Oh, I know.
Chief from.
I'm sure he was. Well,
really is nice. That's what she's done.
Okay, we wanted to give some time for our police department to our retired officers and a lot of our current officers and family and friends to move over to the police department to have the reception. Again, the chief said it very well. We can't really, kind of do anything but echo what he said, that we're very lucky. And I saw a lot of younger police officers in the audience who were there with, here to watch some of these guys who've been, at least 30 years on the force. And the chief has had a chance to hire a lot of young officers over the past few years with a lot of retirements, and they have some big shoes to fill. But we've hired some good young officers, and we're very confident about the police force we have here and going forward. All right, we're going to move to our public comment time period here. First name on the list, and I believe he has some visuals for us, is Mr. Mariani.
Guess what I'm going to talk about? During the past meeting, Mr. Chairman, you were doing fine explaining an EIT until you said, our findings indicate the majority of Falls residents do not pay an EIT. And with that, you almost dismissed the idea of enacting one in Falls, and pretty much it sounded to me that that was the end of it as far as the Board of Supervisors was concerned. Now, earlier you also say you don't believe that 96% of surrounding municipalities have an EIT. The fact is that they do. And in addition to the majority of them, also include a per capita and occupational privilege tax. Now, Roland showed you this, but let's stay with...
Make sure you, Mr. Mariano, if I take the microphone with you if you're going to move, that's all, just so we can hear you. And actually, just to clarify, the occupational privilege tax and the per capita head tax are two different taxes, I believe. And we actually have an occupational privilege tax.
Local service tax?
Local service, right. It's now called local service tax. They've changed the name several times, but
almost everyone in that lower box does have an LST,
Mm-hmm.
and it's around $52 with maybe the exception of Pendel, which I think is 10. but let's stay with an EIT. Roland, would you please give the gentleman a report? Now, I'm giving each of you a report with the map of Bucks and the surrounding counties of Montgomery, Lehigh, and Northampton. And it's complete with a list of every municipality in each one of those counties. Every municipality, every borough is listed in there. The red covered portion of each map indicates the municipalities that have an EIT. And the listed municipalities include the tax rate of the non-resident EIT, the income tax, and the local services tax. Now, if you look at this map, the red portions are Northampton, 99.7% of Northampton has an EIT. Lehigh, 100% of all their municipalities have an EIT. Montgomery Township, which is next to us, has a 99.94% EIT. Bucks County is approaching 80%, and I guarantee you another year or two they'll be close to 100. And if you want to throw Berks County, which is up there, they're 99.6%. Now it looks like to me that 96% of the Pennsylvania townships is accurate. 96% of them, probably a little more than that, all have an EIT. Where can you work within this 4-county area without incurring an EIT? Where are you going to go? From this little spot where we are, any one of the 4 counties has an EIT. Now, for those folks of you who are at home, take a look at your pay stub. Does it include the EIT? By any other name, it could say Bristol Township Income Tax. That's the EIT that a couple of people up there pay and I pay. Now, if it does, you're paying your tax to another municipality, as the chairman had explained. That's tax money you're spending and paying to other municipalities belongs here in Falls Township, and it belongs to our school district, the Pennsbury School District. You're spending millions of dollars, you're sending it out of this township every time you pay an EIT to another municipality. That money belongs here, and it belongs to us. Now, the sources for my report, which I made up here, with the map and all the townships and the boroughs, the sources for my report is the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, EIT, PIT, LST, tax registers, Municipal Statistics Report Bureau. That's where I got my information. There's no doubt that the factual information that I think is contained in this report substantiates that an EIT enacted in Falls will provide additional income of millions each and every year, not 1 year, each and every year. That is for Falls Township and the Pennsbury School District. That will reduce or avoid the necessity for future tax increases. And when you think of school boards, they can't enact an EIT. So any increase they have in taxes, real estate. Now, if I were a candidate for this board, I can tell you I would not be influenced or intimidated, you can't intimidate me, by the possibility of being accused of substantially raising taxes, because that is not what you would do if you put into place an EIT. What I would do, I would aggressively promulgate my plan for the opportunity to expand our tax base, which should have been done years ago, increase our yearly income by billions for our township, for our school district, and I would do it without a tax increase for the overwhelming people in our township. I really believe that. And a good representative, he satisfies his responsibility, he or she satisfies their responsibility, not their personal agenda or the agenda of their political party. So this is the right thing to do. I think you ought to do it. I'll leave you with one question. What was the source of this board's information that led you to conclude the majority of Falls working residents do not pay an EIT? I told you where I got my source. It's right here. I think it's factual. I don't know what the source was for you to conclude that the majority of people in Falls Township, our workers, do not pay an EIT.
The information I know, the data that was collected last was collected during it was a comprehensive plan. Was it
Approximately 10 years ago.
Yeah, about 10 years ago, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, when we looked at an EIT, and a very, very small percentage of Falls residents were paying it, but also thinking about the municipalities directly around us, which is where most Falls residents are likely to work. Marsville doesn't have one, Tellurtown doesn't have one, Bristol Borough doesn't have one, Lower Make doesn't have one, we don't have one.
New Jersey?
New Jersey, I don't know if New Jersey has one or not, no.
New Jersey?
No, New Jersey doesn't
You're
have
telling
one.
me that this little tiny area here, all our Falls residents work in
No,
this
I didn't say, oh, I said most.
You say
Instead of-
most.
Well, and your map's out of date because Middletown's now paying
Yeah,
it.
Middletown actually does have one, so the data, it's
That
interesting.
Middletown could be red.
Yeah, the data has, Middletown has a 0.5%
Okay.
EIT now. So, but no, we appreciate all the work you put into it. I mean, it's, you know,
I've put in a few hours into this.
I'm sure.
And I'm going to tell you that if your information, now here, my information is pretty much up to date, and he says I missed Middletown, which makes it,
well, the state missed
Oh, better
Middletown.
for you, yeah.
Yeah, the state missed Middletown too,
So-
so.
I missed that. And this is pretty much up to date. You're looking at data that you had 9 years ago. And so what I'm telling you is, I made this report for you, not for me.
Okay.
Hang on to it, take a look at it, go through it, and see if maybe you'll change your mind and think about it. The only exception to the 1% cap on an EIT is if the municipality's home rule, you might see 3 or 4 of them that have 1.5% in there. Okay, a municipality without, with a distressed pension system and a financially distressed municipality can go over to 1%.
Okay.
Those are municipalities who spend money they shouldn't be spending.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Roland Kenny?
Good evening, Roland Kenny, Falls Township. I haven't agree with him. For the senior citizens, I wish we would pass it. I watched the school boards, and it seems like, I may be wrong, but it seems like they're like $2 million in the hole. And if we're going to get 4 to 6 million, I'd like to see, well, I can't ask my girlfriend, but Mr. Clark, he knows the lawyer for the school district. He sees him every night. Like to ask him, go over and ask him, what's he think? And if they can get together, pass it, because eventually we're going to, you know, the dump only lasts so long. But this, if we give money to the school district, our school taxes don't go up. And if anybody lives in Falls Township, you know that's the headache. It ain't the land tax, it's the school tax. Because you've got to educate all these good young men and women. So for a senior, I think it's the greatest thing. And for a young man that works, if they work outside the township, they'll understand. They couldn't care. It comes back to our township. The ones like my poor little buddy over there, he works here, so he's going to have to pay it. But I don't think he would mind either, because eventually he's going to get my age. So that's all I got to say. Good night. God bless you.
Okay, thank you. Taisha Lester?
Hello, everyone. I'm going to be very brief. My name is Taisha Lester. I live in the Hedgerow Woods area, and I want to talk today about the lack of lights on my street.
Okay.
I drove by Gilbert Drive and I think it was Simon Drive. I think Gilbert Drive has like 7 lights, and they're newer lights. I'm new to the area, so I don't know how long they've been there. And I think Simon Drive has at least 5 lights. My street only has maybe 2 or 3, and they're very dim. Very dim. So I know you guys have it on the agenda about discussion regarding LED lights. I just think they need to come sooner rather than later. My street is very dark. We don't even get trick-or-treaters because the street's so dark, and it's an attraction for burglars. There was recently something in my neighborhood where there was an armed robbery, and there has been a lot of crimes in the area, unfortunately. And I just want to see more of a police presence. I'm from New Jersey. I moved from the West Windsor district. I felt very safe, and I thought I did all the research I could before moving to this area. And I just, I don't feel safe.
Which street are you on?
Peaceful Drive.
Peaceful.
I think there needs to be more police presence. There's a lot of. I even heard something recently over there by Pathmark. I think they broke into a store. Like, I don't know what store it was.
Yeah.
A lot of car burglaries, and I just want to see more of a police presence. And again, I think if we have more lights, brighter lights, it'll probably, I don't know, maybe make the burglars not want to come.
Yeah, we can certainly take a look. I know. I think our public works guys went out and took a look at some of the lights that are there. They are, I don't know how old they are, but we are, and you noticed it already. We're in the process of working with a company that is going to be replacing all the lights in Falls Township. There's about 2,300 or 2,500 street lights that we're responsible for, and replacing them with newer, more energy efficient, brighter lights. So that is something we are working on doing.
What's the time frame? Do you know?
We have to actually, that's one of the things we're going to meet with. We're kind of tonight, what you're seeing on number 4 agenda items, kind of like a status report, see where they are in the process of first identifying all the lights and issues, and then coming back to us with an idea of that. I mean, it's definitely, it's months, not years, put it that way. But in terms of police presence, one of the things that I'll mention, and certainly, Mr. Gray can certainly pass on your concerns to the police chief, but this is sort of a message for everybody, because occasionally we get asked questions about police and crimes, and one of the things people are reluctant to do, and I just had a conversation maybe a week ago with somebody who said, well, there's been some car break-ins in my neighborhood, but nothing serious. They just sort of take some change, maybe a phone charge or something, but I don't want to bother the police with that. No, you have to, every single time, if there's any kind of, it's a minor act of vandalism, if there's anything at all, call the police. I mean, and make a report, because that's how the police get notified of something happening. A lot of times something more serious occurs, and people say, well, there have been some break-ins locally, but we didn't want to bother you. So, well, no, that's, so definitely doing, not just you, I'm just saying in general, certainly that's something we can do is
do you know if there's any neighborhood watches in the
in that area? I don't believe there is one. We have one in another area, at least one other area. In Thornridge, I know there's one.
To work with the police, or I don't know. So I don't even know how to start a neighborhood watch, but I would love to be a part of that.
Well, certainly, we have we have your name here, and you told us Peaceful Drive, so we can definitely have our one of our lieutenants does some community policing and works with another neighborhood watch in Falls Township in a different neighborhood. And they've been up and running maybe a year or so, that one, or 2 years, or
about 1 or 2, yeah, somewhere around there.
So, but yeah, certainly we, and I'm sure they welcome any kind of involvement. But we are, the streetlights is something we're definitely looking at, and hopefully in the near future, we'll get replaced. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Those are the names on the resident. Any other residents from Falls wish to speak? We have one non-resident who signed up, Curtis Siegler. Is that right?
I'm here for item 3.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right then. No other public comment? All right. So move to item number 2, which is a certificate of appropriateness for 26 Yardley Avenue, replacing a split rail fence with a fence that's basically the same, I guess, in the backyard of a home on, I said 26 Yardley Avenue. Owner is Sherry Putnam, who I see is here. I know there's a photo and there's a map. Is there any desire to hear from Ms. Putnam, or it seems pretty
straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion then to grant the certificate of appropriateness?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Done. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item number 3, AutoZone preliminary land development, 482 West Trenton Avenue. Mr. Gray.
Yes, this is a preliminary plan of land development for the AutoZone. They are proposing to build a 6,816 square foot auto parts store on a site of 1.67 acres. Location is the north side of West Trenton Avenue, west of the intersection with Big Oak Road. The board is asked to consider this at this time.
Okay, we have a few gentlemen here representing the applicant. If you could just identify yourselves, please, when you come up.
My name is Gregor Ersprung with Bergman Associates. I'm a professional engineer representing AutoZone. With me is Curtis Sigler. He is from AutoZone. Also, the property owner is here as well, Gary Lario with Right Group. So we need to discuss the boards.
Sure.
I understand you'd like one facing the audience as well?
Yes, thank you. And what we'll ask you to do is just give us a preliminary idea or a basic idea of what exactly you're doing, especially for members of the public, and also an idea of waivers you're requesting, and any of the other concerns that were raised either by traffic engineer, fire marshal, and how you plan to address those issues.
Half-size copies, which I will
okay.
pass out if you want to just
Thank you.
pass those along. So as was mentioned, we're seeking...
Excuse me, sir, can you use the microphone?
Sure.
I was having trouble hearing you.
As was mentioned, we're seeking preliminary final approval for the proposed AutoZone located at 42 West Trenton Avenue. It's located in the NC Neighborhood Commercial Zone. Lot area 1.67 acres and a building of 6,816 square feet. 38 parking spaces are provided, which is what is required by zoning. What I'd like to do is just go over the T&M letter, and that's kind of reiterated in the proposed resolution as well. With regard to zoning, the applicant received a variance at the January 13th, 2014 meeting of the Zoning Hearing Board to allow a major chain store use in the NC zoning district. So we did obtain a variance for that use. With regard to the subdivision and land development, a highway occupancy permit is required from PennDOT for the new driveway connection to Trenton Avenue, the new curb cut. We've made an initial application to PennDOT. We've received comments back to them, and we're providing responses to their comments in order to secure that permit. We're requesting a waiver from the parking requirement to have less than 15 feet of open space between the curb line and the parking area. Where that is on the plan is typically they want 15 feet between the building and the curb line adjacent to the building. It is really AutoZone's prototyped to provide the sidewalk right adjacent to the building. That coupled with the small site would really not be feasible to provide that buffer between the building and the parking area. Secondly, parking spaces must be at least 12 feet from the property line. There is no space, 10.5 feet is provided from the parking to the easterly property line, which is less than the 12 feet. Again, because of the restricted area on the site, it's less than the 12, and it's also located adjacent to an existing parking lot, so it's not out of character with what's there already. Erosion and sediment control measures must be provided to meet Pennsylvania DEP requirements. We'll obtain the NPDES permit since there is more than 1 acre of land that will be disturbed, so that permit will be required, and we'll obtain that permit. Monuments must be placed at key points as agreed to with the township engineer, and we'll coordinate with the engineer to identify those locations and have those monuments placed accordingly. Partial waiver is requested, which requires various property ownership, drainage, and utility information within 200 feet of the property. It would be very difficult to provide all of that information and be costly to do that without really much benefit. So that's why we're asking for that waiver. The agreement, easement agreement for demolition work on the adjoining property must be approved by the Falls Township solicitor prior to construction. And what that easement is for, up in this section of the property, there's existing pavement that just goes over onto the adjacent property. So we need an easement to remove that pavement, and also there's a light pole there that needs to be removed. And I understand that we have those easements secured, and we will submit those to the solicitor for review and approval. With regard to stormwater management, we're requesting a waiver from the requirement to provide a minimum depth of 2 feet for the emergency spillway. There's a detention pond that's located in the back, located over here, and there's a spillway located in this area. And due to the site constraints, the fact that it's very flat, it's really not possible to achieve the 2 feet. We have provided 1.5 feet, and from an engineering perspective, it will function fine. The applicant is also requesting a waiver from the requirement to provide a minimum freeboard of 1 foot in all the inlets and manholes. The freeboard is slightly less than 1 foot in some of the manholes due to limitations tying into the existing storm system. So it's not always possible to achieve that 1 foot of freeboard, but the system will still function adequately. With regard to the general comments, all comments from the town fire marshal must be addressed. We did receive a letter dated June 4th, 2014. There were no real concerns with regard to the site. They just asked for to provide appropriate information as part of the building permit review. All construction details must comply with the Falls Township design standards. We'll comply with that. And all comments from the township engineer must be addressed, and we will address all of those comments, and we don't see any issues in addressing them. With that, I would just ask the board if they have any questions.
Okay, and we'll turn it over to board members for their comments or questions. Mr. Galloway?
Not at this time, no, thank you.
Mr. Boraski?
Just one. I know, Mr. Sullivan, there was an issue with delivery times or turning radius. Was that resolved?
Yes, it was.
I didn't see nothing on the
Yeah,
drawing.
we have a truck turning template as part of this plans, and that's been resolved.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Mr. Dents?
You're going to demolish the entire existing building and take up all the asphalt out back?
Right, that's correct.
And for those watching at home, this is on West Trenton Avenue where the old JB's restaurant used to be.
Right.
JB's is the property right next to the William Penn Bank.
Is CVS there too, right, or no? Is that further down?
There's William Penn, and then there's a Tires Plus. Would be right in the middle, right?
Right, right.
Across from Friendly's or something. That's all I had. That's
okay.
Is the detention pond, is that going to hold water?
Yes. Yeah.
How long will it hold water for?
It will hold water for a short period of time, and then it will infiltrate into the ground.
Okay.
So it's for a short period.
Okay. And is there sidewalks going in on this site? Looks like there is.
Sidewalks existing, aren't there?
No.
Yes, there is a sidewalk that's running along Trenton Avenue here, and we'll connect into an existing
Right, so you've got- yeah, you've
adjacent
got sidewalks on
sidewalk.
either
Connecting to
side,
the
you're just
existing
connecting.
sidewalks.
Right,
All right,
that's
great.
correct.
Good.
No, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. No, it's a pretty, I mean, you know, it's the review letter, usually we can judge a development by the length of Mr. Sullivan's review letter. This is relatively short, so that's good. Mr. Sullivan, any concerns from you regarding any of the waiver requests?
No concerns, thank you.
Okay. All right, so we're looking for preliminary land development at this time. Is there any public comment needed?
Actually, it's a preliminary final, I believe.
looking for
It's
preliminary
written
and
in
final.
the resolution. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the review letter, not this. Okay, you're right. Okay, all right, so preliminary and final, and I didn't see any hands for public comment. Okay. All right, so board members, any objections to preliminary and final?
No.
No.
No. Mr. Sullivan, any concerns?
No objection.
Okay. All right, then, we were looking at resolution 14-16.
16. Yes.
Okay, resolution 14-16, granting preliminary and final land development for 42 West Trenton Avenue, the auto zone. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Want these back?
No, you can hang on to those if you like.
All right. Okay. Okay, item number 4 is discussion regarding the LED streetlight audit that we are in the process of conducting. Mr. Gray?
Yes, earlier this year, the board approved an audit of the township's street lights. Tonight, to discuss this project further, is Mr. Vaughn Van Gilson from Penn Lighting Associates.
Evening, Mr. Van Gilson. Can you just give us an idea of, and remind the public as to where we are in this process, and you heard a reference to the timetable, which is, you know, a good question about what we're looking at in terms of finishing the audit and then moving forward with that.
Good evening, everyone. The audit was completed last week. So the audit is finally done. On Monday, they took all the data that they attained, and they're trying to put it into a spreadsheet so I can present it to everyone. The findings that they did find, just a little preliminary, there was multiple areas where there were different assortments of lights. So if one street had 70-watt high-pressure sodium, it also had 100-watt high-pressure sodium, and also had 150-watt high-pressure sodium. And that's something we wanted to bring to your attention to finalize to see what you really wanted to achieve on those streets. Some intersections had 250s or 400s, which might not be needed. So once all the data is put together, we'd love to come down and sit and go over everything. The one question is, how would you want that data given to you?
I think probably, you know, if it's something we can, you know, sort of digest ourselves without a whole lot of explanation. I don't know, is it relatively simple to understand, or does it have to be sort of explained? Judging from the look on your face, something has to be explained.
Yes.
Right? Okay, that's fine.
What they did was they came up with GPS and GIS locations, which is longitude, latitudes.
Right.
So what I'm trying to get them to do is filter this to make this very simple and easy, so that we can kind of group everything. So you'll see streets that will just outline everything for you to tell you everything on that street. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to create different markings for the issue areas that we have, so that makes it very simple for you guys to say, here, this is what we found on this street, what do you expect or what do you want to achieve, because most of the other streets were done correctly. So.
Okay.
You use Google Maps for that, or?
No, they actually have a tablet that they go out to every single street light. They punch in the coordinates and the GPS locations, downloads everything to a system, punches it into an Excel spreadsheet, and then puts everything into a whole format.
Okay, cool.
So the audit was completed last week.
Okay, good. What's the pleasure of the board in terms of getting a presentation on this? Does this, you mean, our next meeting is, I think, July 15th will be our next meeting. Is that something, would that be, data be crunched by then, or we could have it? Could
Oh,
just
no,
be-
I'll definitely probably have it within 2 weeks.
Okay.
So we could definitely come back and present that to you on the
All right.
15th.
All right.
Could we have them presented to two of us? Maybe yourself and Mr. Rocco, I'll nominate. And then you can translate it to the rest of us? before
We
the
could do that
meeting?
too, yeah, if it's
Yeah.
something.
Ahead
That
of
way
time.
we can be
Ahead of
prepared
time.
to
Yeah, that's
move on
fine.
it at the next meeting?
That's fine.
That's a good idea. And
Yeah.
Mr.
Rather than delay
Arneo as
till
well.
August.
Yeah.
That's fine, no, I like that. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, as soon as I have the data, I'll send an email out and then schedule
Okay.
something with you to kind of go
Yes,
over.
work through Mr. Gray, and Mr. Gray will sort of communicate to us in
Okay.
terms of
That
when
can
we have that.
expedite things, hopefully?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know you guys are doing Bristol Township, or are you done Bristol Township?
Bristol is 98% complete.
Okay, and I guess maybe how long did it take from the first light you replaced to getting 98% complete? About how
They
long?
started in January with the snowfall.
Okay.
So they started mid-January, and they're finishing up Route 413 with all the decorative fixtures right now as we
right,
speak.
okay.
So if it didn't snow, we'd probably be done in 4 months.
4 months, 5, okay,
They have
good.
twice as many lights as us, right?
They
Yeah.
had about 4,400 lights.
What do we have?
Yeah.
You have 26.
26,
Right,
yeah,
so
2,500, 2,600.
In 4 months, they would have done, we'll be done in 2 months,
About
you're saying?
doing
Correct.
1,000 lights a month.
It depends on the
Roughly.
contractor.
How many LEDs do we have, do you know?
That is all the data that's in there.
I just was wondering if you knew.
About
Right.
300?
We did count those.
Yeah.
So those are ones that were taken
Yeah.
out of the proposal.
I think it's about 300 or 400, between 300 and 400.
329.
There you
320.
go.
So then
Contractor did they use in Bristol, do you know?
they use Armor.
I think they actually had if I'm not mistaken, Bristol Township, I think they actually relocated some and took some out, right? So there was other work involved, or?
Correct. What they did for the
They had some
decorative
work.
streetlights, they were double head streetlights. Every other streetlight they actually removed, and they replaced the double heads with a single head because they also had overhead lighting with the Cobra heads. So,
Yeah.
It's bright. My brother lives in Apple Tree, and it looks great
okay, good.
on the drive.
Yeah, there are some pictures that I could also bring in when I have it, so I could kind of show you. We're going to be taking pictures of when 413 is completed to kind of show that scope of work too.
Yeah, and I know that the people that have gone down Levittown Parkway, you can kind of see where, Falls Township and Bristol Township, and, because Bristol Township has replaced all of their streetlights with the newer ones that we'll be moving toward as well, or something similar, I guess. Maybe not the exact same things, but most likely something very similar. So you can get an idea of that, or going through any section of Bristol Township, you can get an idea of what it's going to look like eventually, probably in Falls.
It's odd, because usually the paved road ends and you're entering into Bristol Township, but now they have nicer lights, but we have nicer streets. So we're playing catch up.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So.
Something that we talked about before is nice is that these are 100% manufactured in Pennsylvania. It's going to be installed by a local company, which is a great thing.
Yeah, they're manufactured down in Littlestown, Pennsylvania, which is right outside of Gettysburg. So it is a Pennsylvania-based manufacturer, and our rep agency is right in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Any other questions? Comments? Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Well, appreciate the update. Thank
You very much. Enjoy your night.
Thank you too. All right, item number 5 is consider awarding township insurance policy for the period of June 18th, 2014 to June 18th, 2015. This is for property, general liability, and public liability. Mr. Gray?
Yes, the township received quotes for insurance from Vaughn Insurance Managers regarding the upcoming insurance for the period beginning June 18, 2014 and ending June 18, 2015. Vaughn Insurance solicited quotes from 6 separate insurance groups. 3 insurance groups provided complete quotes. They are as follows. National Casualty, $426,430. Travelers, $329,289. Trident MRM in excess of $500,000. Brit Companion, $324,452. Penn Prime in excess of $600,000, and Glatfelder Professional Underwriters did not provide a quote. Travelers insured the township for 8 out of the last 12 years. Last year, the township paid 2 travelers for the 2013-14 insurance policy, $308,576. Some of the highlights of the travelers package include $1,000 deductible for cars, trucks, and fire vehicles, $10,000 deductible on public officials liability, $15,000 deductible on police liability and employment practices, and $1,100 average annual cost for vehicle insurance on all vehicles, including fire and police. At this time, the board is asked to consider travelers for the general insurance package for the period June 18, 2014 through June 18, 2015.
Okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Gray? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions.
Mr. Dents?
I'm just going to point out that his memo points out that Middletown is paying over $500,000 this year, and Bristol Township is over $500,000 as well. Proposed, our price is proposed, so that sounds like we're getting a pretty good deal at $329,000. That's all.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
Okay. All right, public comment? See no hands. All right, so is there a motion then to go with Travelers for the property, general liability, and public liability insurance, June 18th, 2014 to June 18th, 2015, the amount of $329,289?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, actually, I wanted to mention, I forgot, I made a little note to myself and didn't look at it, that the insurance policy we just approved does also include, I think for the first time, right, insurance against computer hacking into our network. Mr. Gray looked into that and saw that that was a pretty inexpensive addition to the policy we had. So that's a coverage that unfortunately we need, but it's good to have, I think, in light of some of the events we see around the country and different big organizations getting hacked. All right, item number 6 is consider notice of intent to award the bid for the camera installation at the Falls Township Municipal Building. Mr. Gray.
The Township publicly opened bids in the public meeting room on Thursday, June 12th for the camera installation project at the Township Building. The bids were as follows. MJF Electrical Contractors, $14,965. Fidelity Burglar and Fire Alarm, $9,700. STS 007 LLC, $9,600. Contract Security, $8,902.50. RF Design and Integration, $8,250. And Delaware Electrical Contractors, $3,874.40. Based on the bid evaluation, Delaware Electrical Contractors is the lowest responsive bidder for this project. In addition, as the bid amount is under $10,000, there's no requirement for the responsible contractors ordinance. At this time, the board is asked to consider the bid to Delaware Electrical Contractors in the amount of $3,874.40.
Okay. I know it's difficult to sort of hear the numbers and keep the figures in your head, but you know the board members noticed pretty quickly that there's a pretty big gap between the high bidder at basically $15,000, and the low bidder who's at $3,800, and it's obviously for the same work. And I know some board members had some concerns and questions about that. So I guess I'll open up to board members for discussion or questions, comments regarding the bids and how we want to proceed from here.
I'll start.
Sure.
I guess my problem would be is not having a lot of experience with it. It makes me nervous to award it to Delaware Electrical Contractors and have them come in the building being $5,000 off from the next lowest bid. So I guess, maybe through our discussion we kind of move at some point, but I would be nervous. I don't know. I kind of even thought in my head, when we first started talking about the cameras, that I expected some numbers to come in at 9 and 8, and I kind of thought we'd see them, which we did see them, and to see somebody at 3,800, I just don't know. I don't know what we're getting, from Delaware Electrical Contractor. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Just uneasy about it.
So with the bid process, it's not really our choice on who we want. Are we required to go with lowest bidder?
That's correct. Once a matter is bid, the township is required to award the contract to the lowest responsible bidder. The township can also reject all the bids and rebid the project if the board would choose to do so. But we can't reject Delaware and move to the next bidder unless there's some reason that Delaware Electrical Contractors is irresponsible. Based on our review of the bid responses, there's nothing that suggests that they are irresponsible.
So if
just reject them and say we want to rebid for no reason?
You would have to reject all bidders. All bids, I'm sorry.
Which they'll just bid again, right? More than likely.
History would indicate that yes, that's correct.
Well, maybe there'll be something that they missed the first time they came out.
would,
Is there anything preventing them in the contract we signed with them from extras or
if they were
additional
going,
charges?
if they were going to exceed that contract amount, they would need to get a change order approved by the board. They have submitted bid documents indicated that they will do the work specified for this cost. If they fail to do that, then they are in breach of that contract.
But the change order would have to be contingent on some kind of, serious issue. It couldn't just be that they came in and thought, oh, we didn't think it would be this hard.
They bid on X, Y, and Z. It was cut out pretty cut and dry in the bid specs.
They can't come in and say, oops, we misbid this, we want a change order. They can come in, if there's extra work that wasn't anticipated, or for some reason there was parts that weren't anticipated, things like that. But they can't, just because they miscalculated their bid is not a sufficient reason to change the bid amount.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with Mr. Boraski. It's kind of scary that they're at 38 and they're, the next closest is 83. But I don't.
The bidding is at the bidder's risk, so.
That's the bidder's risk, I guess, yeah.
We went through this with the
landscaping, yeah.
Almost the cleaning company, the landscaping company.
Which was a cleaning company.
which came in really, really low compared to everybody else.
Right.
That's correct.
Mr. Gray, you said this, all these companies, including Delaware Electric, came in and took a tour of the building, so they know what they were being asked to do?
Yes, I believe all but one did take a tour. Yes, there were actually two did not take a tour.
Okay.
MJF and RF did not take a tour.
All right, MJF and RF did not take the tour. Okay. So all the others came through, they saw what they had to do, the specs were the same, specifications, and Delaware Electrical contractors came in, as low as they did. Yeah, it isn't a company that we're familiar with. We've never done any work with them on any of the projects we've ever had. They are local in the sense that they're from Levittown, from Bristol Township, I think, Levittown section. Yeah, I don't.
I mean, I don't really think we have a choice. If we reject the bids and they rebid, it's kind of a waste of everyone's time.
Yeah, and money could be higher.
Money,
obviously,
yeah. I mean,
You might be the only bidder next time when everybody sees what they bid this time.
That's true.
And the other issue is we clearly have problems that we need cameras on.
Right.
Right.
Like right now.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, the bid specs were cut and dry. X amount of feet here, X amount of feet there, X amount of feet here, these connectors. And Matt Markey gave them the tour and showed them this is where one camera goes, this is where this camera goes. If they can do it that cheap, then...
Yep. And just to review for the public, these are, it's a mixture. Some of the cameras we have in the building are older. There's obviously new technology, a lot of new technology over the past few years with digital cameras and the clarity and everything. So some of this is replacing existing cameras in the building, and we're also adding some cameras where our police department feels that there might be some areas that are that need a little bit more surveillance and inside and outside the building. So it is a mixture of a couple things. And one of the things we did look at, and Mr. Markey looked at it, was whether or not these cameras would be portable. Talking about building a new building across the street at some point, could these cameras, which might only be a couple of years old at that point, could they be moved to the new building? Yes, they could. In terms of that, it's not lost money in that sense. So, I don't know if there's any public comment. I don't see any hands. Is there a motion from the board toward any effect here?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to award the bid to Delaware Electrical Contractors for $3,874.40.
Okay.
Second the motion.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
And once again, we are required by law to go to the lowest bidder.
Right. Correct. Okay, item 7 is consider amending an ordinance, Chapter 203, Vehicles and Traffic, to adopt Article 8, Special Permit for Vehicles of Excessive Size and Weight. Ms. Gallagher?
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. As we previously discussed at an earlier meeting, this ordinance was drafted at the request of one of the companies down in the old U.S. Steel Mill, CSC Sugar, which transports sugar from its storage facility to its actual processing facility. Obviously, the less trips that they can make per day is better for their business. They requested that we pass this ordinance, which allows them to exceed the standard limits standard weight limits on certain township roads. They've already approached and obtained PennDOT approval for the PennDOT roads that are involved. So this is just increasing the weight of sugar that may be transported via a permitting process in the township.
Okay. And Ms. Gallagher said the CSE Sugar brings in sugar from the port down to KIPC. It is stored at one facility. It's then trucked daily to the processing facility, which is outside the KIPC. I think it's about 2.5 miles away, 2.6 miles away. And some of that distance is within the KIPC.
Be a maximum distance of 2.5 miles.
2.5 miles. So they travel on the state road for a little bit, and then they're on township road for a little bit. The township roads are in industrial parks, not through any residential areas. And obviously it's 2.5 miles. It's a pretty short trip. But currently, the standard limit on how much weight a tractor trailer can carry means they have to take X number of trips back and forth every day. They're looking to streamline their abilities and processing by increasing a little bit the amount of weight they can carry. They did want a larger increase. We were not in favor of, and we sort of settled on something in the middle in terms of allowing them. As Ms. Gallagher said, PennDOT has already approved them traveling on PennDOT roads at an excessive weight, but they needed our permission to go on our roads. We did talk to the engineer, as well as one of our police officers, Officer Trindle, who is an expert on traffic safety and does all the truck inspections, or most of the truck inspections now. And he was involved pretty much from the beginning in terms of this. And he pointed out the fact that trucks that are permitted to travel excessive weights have sort of increased restrictions on them in terms of other things they have to do. So it's not it's sort of a balance of safety. So we are allowing them to travel to slightly heavier weight, but there are some more restrictions on how they can travel and time of day they can travel and things of that nature.
Just by way of reference, the current limitation is 80,000 pounds per vehicle. The ordinance as drafted provides for a 95,000 pound maximum, and I believe they had asked for somewhere in the neighborhood of just over 100.
Yeah, I think it was 100 or 118 or something like that.
To that effect, yes.
Yeah. So, and there was some concern by board members about roads and would this cause increased wear and tear on roadways, heavier trucks, but the number of trips these trucks are making, I think it was maybe like half a dozen or something like that. It wasn't a tremendous number of trips. It would not necessarily, is not going to have that much of an impact on our road system where it would wear down the roads, faster or something like that. This has been advertised, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Comments or questions for Ms. Gallagher regarding the ordinance?
No.
Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions.
Mr. Pence?
None.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
Okay. All right, public comment? See no hand. Ordinance 1405. Okay, is there a motion then to approve ordinance 1405, amending chapter 203, special permit for vehicles of excessive size and weight?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, items 8, 9, and 10 are all resolution for facilities planning modules. Now, we haven't really done too many of these, and I asked Mr. Sullivan to be ready to sort of explain why we're doing 3 at one time. I think we were talking earlier today about the fact that over the past 10 years, maybe we did 2 of these, and we're doing 3 tonight. So, Mr. Sullivan, these are for 3 different projects. We'll take them one at a time. 3 different projects in the township. I guess explain to us why we're having to do these.
Absolutely. Anytime there's new connections made to an existing sanitary sewer system, there is some kind of approval required by the Department of Environmental Protection. For existing sites, that's normally what's called a waiver of planning module, in that the system is already been sized to accommodate those flows and any kind of excess flows on those existing sites. For the Viking site, which is the first one we're talking about, there's 40 new connections. It'll be 40 townhomes, so 40 what they call EDUs, equivalent dwelling units. And DEP requires what's called a full planning module for this kind of site and this kind of approval. And what that is there has to be collection capacity, there has to be conveyance capacity, and there has to be treatment capacity. And for Viking, the collection and conveyance is through some TOFA lines, then through the Bucks County Water and Sewer lines to actually Philadelphia, where they do the treatment. Since there's 40 EDUs, they did a full planning module, and what the Board of Supervisors is asked to do is amend the existing Act 537 plan through the approval of this module by resolution. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
Okay. All right, so essentially we're agreeing with the fact that when this project goes forward, there is capacity in the sewage system to handle what's likely to be produced.
We've been given information we can rely on that is the case, and you are asked to approve the change to the Act 537 plan.
Okay. All right, so I guess that's general, and we can take each of the other two just in terms of, as we get to them. Any comments or questions about just generically facilities planning modules for Mr. Sullivan?
No.
None.
Okay, all right. All right, so the first is, as you said, for Viking Associates. This is the development that's going to be on West Trenton.
Next to the post office.
Next to the post office.
Right.
Okay. And this would be a resolution, regular resolution?
Yes.
Okay, so it's 14-17. Right. Okay, is there a motion to approve resolution 1417?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and next would be for international
Chairman.
salt.
Mr. Chairman, the difference between, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. The difference between the Viking site and the next two, the other next two are in the KIPC, and the treatment is done actually on site in their existing facility, which DEP doesn't have a lot of confidence in at this time. So that's why these go through full planning modules, even though one is basically one new EDU, which is kind of equivalent to putting in a new bathroom in the house, and the other one is, I believe, is 2 EDUs. So
Why?
normally they could be exemptions if they were going to the Philadelphia treatment site,
Right.
but because of the status of the one at the KIPC, DEP requires this level of approval.
And the status is just because it's old and
It's
has-
old, yes.
There's probably some pictures of it being built up in the room here.
There probably are.
And probably not a lot of work done to it since that picture was taken. All right, as you said, these are relatively small amounts of sewage expected to go in, but because of the nature of the facility, DEP wants us to make sure that it's actually going to work.
Correct.
Comments or questions? The first one's international salt. Comments or questions regarding that?
None.
Okay, that would be 1418. Is there a motion to approve resolution 1418?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the last one is Gelest, which is also within the KIPC. That would be 1419. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Consider change order for the 2012 Falls Township Road Program. Mr. Gray, you can chuck this one over to Mr. Sullivan if you want to.
Mr. Sullivan did provide a letter to the township regarding the 2012 road improvement program. This would be for change order number 1. Change order number 1 includes several items, including perform a 2-inch mill and overlay of Yardley Avenue in Fallsington, address a drainage situation on Willow Drive, remove and reroute a failed pipe between Levittown Parkway and Willow Drive, install additional drainage in Hedgerow Turn, repair a failing culvert and address a steep drop-off at Main and Locust Streets, upgrade a 48-inch SLCPP pipe in Makefield Road, install additional 38-inch by 60-inch HERCP in Winding Way West. The total of these increases would be $218,768.41. In addition, there is a decrease as part of this change order number 1, which is an assessment of liquidated damages in the amount of $40,500, resulting in a total change order amount of $178,268.41. The board is asked to consider this change order at this time.
Okay, comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan or Mr. Gray? Mr. Galloway?
Just that, Mr. Sullivan, do you have any objections or any comments on this?
I have no objections. I mean, this is all work that had to be done as part of the program, and some for drainage improvements that were actually done in different areas of the township that we had identified through Mr. Arnao. Mr. Gray did a pretty good job of explaining what each one was. And the good news is, of course, that there's a decrease involved in this change order. And change order number 1 is the only change order there will be on the 2012 road program. This is what we call a kind of a closeout change order. The project is substantially complete. There won't be any more additional work. Any work that has to be done out there will be punch list type work that will be the responsibility of the contractor.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Mr. Boraski?
Nothing.
Mr. Dents?
And who was this contractor?
General Asphalt.
And for the people at home, can you explain item number 8, what liquidated damages are?
Anytime a contractor goes beyond the authorized project time, there's a possibility of liquidated damages being assessed at a cost of $900 per day. General Asphalt had, they started sort of in the winter time. We gave them what we thought was a very reasonable extension of time, actually 120 days, which is almost 4 months extra time, and they still went 45 days beyond that. So we really didn't have much choice. We had to assess them a penalty.
It's basically a late charge.
Yeah, basically.
Exactly. Thank you. That's all.
What was the change order for Yardley Avenue? Was that just not planned?
That wasn't part of the program.
Okay, we added it.
We added that, yes.
That's all I had.
Okay. Yeah, and obviously it's the total project. I mean, $178,000 is clearly a lot of money, but the original contract amount was $5,262,000. So in light of what the total value of this whole road program was, $178,000 of additional work, and as Mr. Sullivan said, it was work that had to be done. You had stormwater issues, collapsed pipes, drainage issues, especially in Old Fallsington, where there were still a lot of open gutters, some of them concrete, 18 inches, down right on the side of the road. There were safety issues. There were neighbors that were, residents that were asking us to do something with those, to cover them up essentially and put pipes underground. So it looks better, it's safer, probably functions better as well. So again, work that needed to be done. I'll imagine there's any comments or questions from the public. Is there a motion then to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $178,268.41?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Item 12, consider authorizing the township manager to finalize the award for Quaker Penn Park Boat Ramp Construction Project. Mr. Gray?
Yes, at the May 19th Board of Supervisors meeting, the board approved a notice of intent to award to ABC Construction the award for the Quaker Penn Boat Pylon Project. The dollar amount was $60,726.39. At this time, the board is asked to give authority to the manager to finalize this award. I will work with the engineer's office to get this done as quickly as possible.
Okay. And Mr. Sullivan, no work can start until July 1st?
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Okay.
There seems to be some confusion. Maybe we could start a little bit earlier, but July 1st has been the date we've been dealing with.
Okay.
This contractor has given us all the required information so we can issue a responsible contractor determination. The only issue is that we can't do it for another couple of days.
Right. And that's for environmental reasons?
That's because of the 30-day review period.
Oh, okay. All right. I meant in terms of I think we had to wait till June 30th for Fish and Wildlife.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was the reason for that?
For
the wait?
Oh, because we're not allowed to enter the water in between.
Oh, right.
March 30th or something, March 1st or?
March 15th to June 30th.
June 30th.
It's
the turtles, right?
For turtles, sturgeon, some fish in the area, yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions?
And how much of this was covered by insurance?
$53,000.
So our bill is $7,000.
I think $5,000 is a contingency. Isn't there like a $5,000 contingency?
There is a $5,000 contingency, so if we don't use that, and hopefully we won't, then we're pretty close.
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath.
Is there a motion then to authorize the manager to finalize the award for the boat
So
ramp?
moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes for May 19th, 2014. Comments or questions, corrections on the minutes? Mr. Galloway?
None.
Mr. Boraski?
Nope.
Mr. Dents?
No, excellent minutes as always, Mrs. Pullen.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
No, I don't have any either. Okay, is there a motion then to accept the minutes as presented for May 19th, 2014?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, engineers report, Mr. Sullivan, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mostly road program updates at this time. Hedgerow Drive has been paved up to the base course for the entire length. Sidewalk is about halfway complete, sidewalk and aprons, and that work will continue for the next couple of weeks. Storm sewer installation on Fletcher Drive and Walton Drive has been completed. New curb will be going in over the next week or so as well. Floral Drive has been paved. And Makefield Road, we got some good news today. Mr. Arnell got a call to do a one-call markout on Makefield Road, which means we have 3 days to do that markout, and from that point, PECO's allowed to come back in and actually start to work. So sometime after June 19th, PECO will be out there to relocate that last gas main.
We hope.
We hope. I've called.
It's like Groundhog Day around here.
Yeah, I've called the representative directly, and we're pretty sure they'll be out there next week.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan?
Not for Mr. Sullivan, but regarding the road program, anyone can see the updates and schedules and changes to the schedule. There's a link on the website. And they've been updating it as, you know, there's been delays and what have you. So you can get an update of when they're going to be where and so forth. That's all I had.
Oh, yeah, I have a few things. Waste management, the Coke Works, there's an update in here?
Yes.
It said that there was a meeting held on June 4th, 2013. I'm assuming that's 14.
That would be correct.
What, can you give an update on that? I know.
That's what they're.
I'm kind of looking forward to them putting trash in there.
Yeah, they're beginning to actually. There's a lot of stuff they have to do to get ready for that. There's a lot of holes that have to be filled in, some bad soil has to be mitigated, and that was the pre-construction meeting for that to start. They're also going to take their wetland mitigation from across the way and use some of that soil to fill in those holes.
Okay.
We have to remove bad soil to create a landfill.
Believe it or not, that is correct.
This is where the new landfill is going to go.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and just the other thing I had, I reached out to you last week regarding FiOS. Verizon contractors are in the neighborhoods installing FiOS.
Yeah.
And I guess for the most part they're doing an okay job, but as far as tearing up the yards and trenching underneath roads, if there's an issue, how do we get them back?
You call him Mr. Gray or myself.
Okay.
Yeah, we have Mr. Gray as a contact, I believe, in that, and so do I.
Yeah, because they're in Fosington Woods. I guess they're in Nottingham and then.
Right.
Yeah.
They were in Makefield Road Village, and they just crossed Makefield Road. I don't know what they're doing now. They do a pretty good job, though. At the end of the day, you don't even notice that they were there for the most part.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised, but I'm assuming once all that stuff settles, and it could be a mess. So. And
they don't have to come to us for permits or anything, so we really don't regulate that.
Right. They only if they open the road, then they have to go to Mr. Arneo for a permit.
Right.
Any road, if they.
Any township road, yes.
Okay.
State road, they would need a state road permit.
All right, that was all I had. Thank you.
I think one of the problems that I heard from residents in my neighborhood was that they don't even know they're coming.
Right.
So, for instance, there was a guy on the corner of my street. He worked on his landscaping all week. They backed their directional drill right up onto his front lawn, and it was mulch bed. He had just worked literally all week on it, and I think that's what's upsetting to the residents.
And I don't think we get a lot of notice either. I think we find out when everybody else does that they're out there.
We actually got letters on the outside of our mailbox. I guess someone hand delivered them.
Good.
You wouldn't really know that they were legitimate, or unless you kind of thought it was like landscaping or house cleaning or something crazy. But did you get one?
I didn't see anything, but I didn't really get the mail. So.
Yeah, we did. I think they did Ryan, and they kind of moved around different areas the past month or so. There was something we got on our door in our mailbox, but it was a couple weeks. I mean, the paint they put down, I know on my yard and on the sidewalks and things like that, the paint was there for a while before they came in and started digging. We were actually joking, some of my neighbors, about the fact that pretty soon the paint won't be there anymore. It took a while. So, but yeah, you don't know when. You just show up, you come home from work, and there they are. So.
And it's different, they're just subcontractors for Verizon.
Right,
whoever it is,
exactly.
so
They're pretty big though. I stayed at a lane closure on Route 13 today, same tech truck, same guys.
I see the guys that did
Everywhere.
Makefield Road Village and the guys that are crossing Makefield Road now, it's two different companies.
Really?
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Sullivan?
No.
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the May 2014 engineering report?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, bill list. Bills in the amount of $1,929,766.75. So just about $2 million. And of that $2 million, over $1 million is payroll and health insurance. We paid, I think, more this month for fuel for the vehicles than we did for legal fees. $169,000 for, actually more than that, for the road program. There was a price in here. I was taking a look actually for vehicle parts. I think was actually might have been more than our legal fees. Just various parts for all the vehicles we have, just basic maintenance and things that have to happen. So, comments or questions on the bill list for Mr. Gray?
No.
None.
Okay, is there a motion to pay the bills? $1,929,766.75.
So moved.
Motion.
Mhm.
Second his motion.
He beat you. 2 times he
Aye.
beat you. Yeah.
What?
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Okay. We actually had an executive session before our meeting where the township heard about a couple issues regarding labor issues, essentially, and from and personnel, I guess you could say. An accurate description, Ms. Gallagher?
That is Mr. Harvey.
Okay. All right. So, manager comment. Mr. Gray, you're up.
Yes, just a few items tonight. First item, the Township received a memo from Mr. Sullivan dated June 4th regarding escrow release number 3 for Mercer Court. Based on the recent inspection of this project, it has been determined that this amount can be released. The amount is $116,220.15. The board is asked to consider escrow release number 3 for Mercer Court.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions?
No.
How many escrows are there? Or how many releases will they ask for?
They can ask for them about once a month. So as long as the project goes on.
They're going to keep asking, yeah?
How much escrow did they put up?
Mr. Gray's about to tell you.
$1,233,191.
Thank you.
That's all I had.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions? No? All right. Is there a motion then to approve escrow release number 3 for Mercer Court, $116,220.15?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
The Township received a request from Asset Management for cash escrow release for Burger King in the amount of $2,744.75. This project has been completed and is ready for release. At this time, the board is asked to consider this escrow release for Burger King.
Okay. Comments or questions?
No.
No.
I guess just to remind members of the public, because sometimes there's some confusion. People think that we're paying Mercer Court $116,000 or we're paying Burger King $2,700. Escrow, every developer who comes in and does a project has to put up a certain amount of money. Could be millions of dollars, could be hundreds of thousands, could be tens of thousands. And that covers any costs that go on while that project is underway. For our engineers to be reviewing their project, it's basically the developer is paying for that. The township isn't. Legal fees are being paid for when it relates to that project. For example, you saw the gentleman here tonight for AutoZone. The review of all their documents and plans done by the solicitor, done by the engineer, is all paid for by AutoZone. It's not paid for by Falls Township. And so they put up a set amount of money, and as the project goes on, to make sure that the project does actually go on and they follow the rules and they follow the plans that they submitted and we approved, we hold on to part of their money, and as they complete part of it, we release it to them. So it's really their money we're giving back to them. It's kind of the stick and the carrot at the same time that we can hold to make sure they do what they're supposed to do. So this is, again, basically us releasing their money back to them. So no comments or questions. Is there a motion to approve the release to asset management cash escrow for Burger King, $2,744.75?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I was supposed to go to Mrs. Pullen on that one.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Whenever you spend money, it has to be a roll call vote, not a voice vote. So apologize for that. Mr. Gray, what else you got? Oh, Ms. Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. The board has been presented with a resolution regarding the Bucks County Hazard Mitigation Program. In 2011, every municipality in the county agreed to participate in the existing hazard mitigation plan and adopted the plan by resolution. Every 5 years by statute, an update is required to the plan, so the 5-year mark is 2016. In preparation of that update, the county has asked that all municipalities pass a resolution agreeing to participate in the plan revisions. By choosing to participate, Falls will not create its own plan, but will participate in evaluating previous mitigation activities, identifying the most community damaging events, ranking events into a hierarchy, and volunteering for activities that can help reduce the risk. The meetings and activities will occur mostly in 2015, and once the revision is complete, the township will again be asked to pass another resolution adopting the 2016 plan update.
Okay.
The reason we participate in this is to obtain federal and state funding for disaster relief.
Right. So, for example, any money we got from Hurricane Sandy, we got because we're a part of this plan.
Correct.
Okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Gray or Ms. Gallagher?
None.
None.
I'm assuming that Fire Marshal DiPolito is the one who's sort of the main point man for this when it comes to our involvement with the county.
With FEMA, yes, and
Okay.
county.
That's correct, yes.
All right, so this will be Resolution 14-20?
Yes.
Correct? Yes, okay. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 14-20?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Finally, tonight there are Mylars ready for signature for Planet Fitness, Viking/Marmor, and Abington Reldan. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. All right, board comment. Go to Mr. Dents. Want to start off?
Sure. Last weekend we had the 4th annual Q for the Troops and Family Festival, which was a huge success. It was perfect weather. It was a great event. I think everyone in the building had some part in it, but a few people, Joe Arneo and the Public Works crew, did an amazing job leading up to the event. It was raining for a few days, but everything was perfect. The grass was perfectly manicured. It looked great. Not a single complaint. And 2 other people, Jessica Fox and Brian Andrews, our new Parks and Rec department, came in late. They came in March. They were hired, right, Pete?
Yes, that's correct. April.
April, I'm sorry. And they hit the ground running to help make it a great event. And lastly, Matt Markey. Matt Markey put a lot of effort in this year. Not that he doesn't every year, but this year there was a lot more pressure on him because we were doing it by ourselves. And the representatives from Kansas City that came out told us that Falls Township sets the gold standard on how an event should be run and how everyone is treated. So it was pretty much a big deal. It was a good time. I don't know how much money we raised yet, if any, but we did have 65 teams, and there had to be thousands of people that came through the park that day for the family festival and everything else. So I just want to thank everyone in the building that helped make the event such a huge success. And that's all I have tonight.
Okay. Mr. Boraski?
I actually wanted to discuss the fire install, but we handled that, so.
Oh, how about that?
So I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rocco?
Yeah, a few things. Firstly, I think, Mr. Dents, you did an excellent job with the coordination of the Q for the Troops, and
Thank you.
I know it was a ton of work, so.
Yes.
Also, the Public Works, the Parks and Rec also recruited volunteers, some of the baseball organizations, soccer, fall soccer. So I think we should thank the volunteers that came out to help with that as well. LED lights, I'm excited about that. So I hope, it continues to make sense when we get more information, but I have a feeling it's not going to be an issue. One other item I wanted to bring up, I've heard that we're not that business friendly and, knocks on us. And tonight I think we did 3 things. One, we approved AutoZone. They were in and out within 10 minutes. We didn't give them a hard time about their waivers or anything like that. CSC Sugar?
Correct.
Yeah. We didn't have to pass that ordinance to help them out, but that's the right thing to do, to be good. Yeah, it's the right thing to do. And lastly, the timing, us approving the escrow release for Mercer Court. So I think that was good. The last update is the website. When did we approve that website work?
September, October?
Shoo. Okay, so in September, October, we approved new website. We've been working on it for quite a few months now. It's almost ready to go. I think probably by the end of this month, we should have it up and running. So I think that's a good thing as well.
Mr. Galloway?
Just kudos to Mr. Dents as well. The barbecue competition is probably the most memorable event that I attend in the township each year. Now, this is my second year participating, and it's just amazing all the work and coordination that have gone into it. Was this your 4th or 5th year?
It's actually our fourth year with the Kansas City Barbecue Society.
Well, again, just congratulations on another successful event, and I look forward to next year's.
Yeah, I was waiting. Of course, I knew when Mr. Dents was thanking people for all the work they put into it. He wouldn't mention himself, of course, but I'm glad to, I know other board members would make sure that he got the credit he deserved. It really was something that he started. It was kind of his idea years ago to sort of bring it here, and now it's grown into, it was state championship now for Pennsylvania?
65 teams.
Yeah, so it's basically the state championship for Pennsylvania, which qualifies you to go to nationals through this one organization. So it's a really big deal, and we're proud to host it. On Sunday, I was at another event that we're also very proud to host, which was the flag ceremony, which is held every year by the Delaware Valley Vietnam Veterans. They place over 58,000 flags individually in the ground at the community park. And it's done every year, really is sort of a symbol of Flag Day and the meaning of the flag, but also the number of 58,000 is the number of soldiers lost in Vietnam. And so this is obviously a very sensitive issue for them. This was the 29th year, I believe, of the memorial. It's been here in Falls for 10 or 11 years or so. I'm trying to remember now. It's I think pretty much the whole time I've been here, it's been there. And it really is something it gets bigger every year in terms of people that come out to see it. One of the sort of jokes I was making was, when I remember going very early, it was myself, Mr. Dayton, former supervisor, and a few other people who were there. Now there are elected officials from all over Lower Bucks that want to be there, at the state level and federal and local level who want to be there to sort of take part in this. And a lot of work goes into it. Again, another event that our brand new Park and Rec crew came in mid to late April, and they didn't know anything about the flag memorial. They didn't know anything about the queue for the troops or the community day. They were getting those things organized while they were organizing the opening of the Pinewood Pool, while they were organizing the opening of the summer camp in about 2 weeks, and it came off without a hitch. And a lot of work goes into it from the Public Works, putting up tents and doing other things to help all the people that come out and plant those flags. And there's a concert, there's a motorcycle rally. It's a really, really great 3-day event. But Park Security also doing an excellent job. So very, very proud to host them. They love being in Falls Township. They're thrilled to be here. They're thrilled to work with us. And as I told them, they can call that place their home as long as they want, as far as I'm concerned. Want to just a few other things. Talked to Mr. Gray last week and again this week about mosquito issues. Clark Mosquito Company, which is the company we've hired to sort of do testing for mosquitoes and spraying, they've done a round of testing. They found very, very high concentrations of mosquitoes in the Martha Drive. Was it Robin Hood or Sherwood or Robin Hood, right?
Martha/Robin Hood.
Yeah, Martha and Robin Hood area where there's a lake back there. So there are going to be spraying there probably the end of this week.
Probably towards the end of this week.
The end of this week. keep a lookout for that, and of course, as it's getting a little wetter the last week, especially, it was pretty wet, so we can expect to get some more mosquitoes. And the heat too is going to bring them out. So, but they are a company that we've hired. They've done a nice job for us the past few years. We try to stay on top of it. Talking to Mr. Clark, who does some work in Montgomery County, he was making reference to the fact that we've said that we're the only community in Bucks County that sprays for mosquitoes on our own, doesn't just rely on the county. And he found out that there's no community in Montgomery County that sprays for mosquitoes on their own. They rely just on the county as well. So, we are going above and beyond. Occasionally there's complaints about mosquitoes, but we're doing more than most communities do to try and lessen the effects. You're never going to get rid of them 100%. It's a fact of life. Whenever they're bothering you, just think that it's swatting mosquitoes is a lot better than shoveling snow. It's kind of, if there's a silver lining, maybe that might be it.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Mr. Dents is more of a cold weather guy. Talking about nuisances, have gotten a few complaints from people about dog waste. And I know I asked Ms. Gallagher to take a look at the dog waste ordinance we have for fines for people that don't pick up after their dogs, especially if, not just at the public parks, but on people's front lawns, you're walking your dog. And, obviously it's beyond a courtesy. It's just simple, I think, being a human being to sort of not leave something like that on it's basic responsibility to if you have a dog, there's responsibilities that go with the dog. If you walk the dog, and the dog is leaving something behind on a neighbor's property, that's obviously it's disgusting, number one, and it's also illegal. So I think we're going to look. We looked at the fines. I think the fine's relatively low. For that.
The fine is low, and the ordinance could stand a little bit of cleaning up and tightening up as well.
Yeah. All right, no pun intended. But we'll definitely look to sort of make some revisions to that, make it a little stronger. But especially one of the people who complained was a senior citizen who just feels like she shouldn't have to go out and clean up after somebody else's dog on her own property. And she's right. She's 100% right. Even if she wasn't a senior citizen, she'd be right. But that's it's just obviously. We talk about being good neighbors and being a great community. That's something very simple. You just don't do. So we ask people to keep that in mind, especially now that the weather's getting nicer. People might be walking their dogs more. And lastly, just for board members, I asked Rose Mall, the executive administrative assistant here at the township, to put together a list of vacancies that we have on some of our boards. I know we have a few letters that have come in, and we've had them for a little while about people interested in being on some of our boards and commissions. So maybe in July we can look to fill some of these vacancies. Some of these boards I don't think meet over the summer, and so we have some time. But people put in letters. We should keep an eye out. And I think this information is also posted online and on the township channel for people that might be interested in volunteering some time. Usually it's never more than once a month, typically. And as I said, some boards don't even meet in the summertime. So it's just a little bit of time to help make the community a better place. We'd love to have your involvement. So we'll take a look at that information and maybe act on it next month. Our next meeting will be July 15th. I think that's actually the third Tuesday, correct? Yeah. Okay. Is there there's nothing else? Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.